Oh, good morning.
First reading.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning. Calling the roll for the Monday, April 11th Board of Control meeting. It is 11 a.m. Nan Baker. Here. Dale Miller. Here. Tim Boyle serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones. Present. Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, if we can take a second to review the minutes from April the 4th. If there's no corrections, I make a motion to approve the minutes from April 4th Board of Control meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, moving on to contracts and awards. First item.
First item, BC 2022-215, Department of Development, on behalf of the Department of Regional Collaboration, submitting an amendment to a contract with Kegler, Brown, Hill, and Ritter Company, LPA, for state advocacy services for the period February 18th, 2020 through February 17th, 2023, to expand the scope of services to add temporary grant writing support services to access funds made available through state funding grant opportunities, effective upon signature of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000.
Good morning, Christopher Ferroni from the Department of Development. This is a request to amend the contract that we do have presently with Kegler, Brown, and Hill to add $50,000 not to exceed amount for grant services or grant writing services associated with funds that may be available at the state level through the American Rescue Plan Act, as well as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Just a comment, a lot of money out there right now. Good time for this. I support the request.
Boyle?
Ditto is, I think Councilman Miller is exactly right on that. I just have two brief questions. And there were several questions about the relationship between the Kegler contract and the Squires contract. Do they both expire on the same date? I think they do, but I can't recall.
There's slight difference between the two. This one, I believe, the contract expires, it started in February, so I believe it expires in February as well. And
So
the other one was, they both expire in 23.
All right.
But there's like a month or so difference between the two.
Fair enough. So it's early, first quarter 2023 regardless.
Yes.
For both of them. And then the other question is, I did see that there were postings in the, on the county's HR site for two grant employees, and that may not be in your group, and so I apologize if I'm asking questions that you're not. But I did see that the county was looking to hire two grant employees or within in-house. Do you
Correct.
know if that's still the plan, and what role, if any, would that or impact would it have on the work that would be done by
Correct.
both Kegler or Squires?
I can answer that. Nicole English.
I
With
knew it was
Public
out
Works,
there
we're
somewhere.
working
Right.
together. So regional collaboration, the two people have accepted. So we have a grant writer and a grant supervisor, I believe, are starting within 2 to 3 weeks. So they will sit in-house and they will work with these firms. I think it's going to be a collaborative effort, right? These firms understand the process. They know how to get things done. We're going to transition some of that work over to us, but we're still going to need their assistance to get everything submitted in that connection with the
Honestly,
legislative.
I think that's an understatement, needing their assistance. I mean, as Councilman Miller said, there's a lot of work and money floating through this, and more hands on deck is obviously better. Is that going to be housed under regional collaboration?
Correct.
All right, got it. Thank
With, they're going to assist, Public Works sees a lot right now in the new infrastructure bills, development, sustainability. I mean, they're going to assist pretty much everybody else who doesn't have grant writers sitting with them today.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This is originally ending 2/17/2023, which is 1 year from now. So they have other things that they're doing outside of grant writing that they will continue to do?
Correct. They have other duties, as I think Nicole mentioned, with regards to regional collaboration and public works that they're working on as part of the original contract.
Okay.
And this is an add-on service that we're.
So they'll, I'm sure, will be involved with at least the people that, or whoever's going to be doing the grant writing, is that?
Right. I think that was one of the stipulations in the contract writing, that there is that relationship being built between who we hire in-house and their services.
And the grant writer.
Yes.
Yeah, so the idea is, there's a big amount of work that needs to be done that we probably can do in-house. We just, right now, everybody kind of spread thin. So that's
Sure.
what these new grant writers will do. However, the Kegler Brown and the Squires folks are kind of going to be the ringleaders, right, to make sure that we're asking for the right things, that we're, asking for not too many in one area. They'll be the contacts with the legislator. So they're still going to serve that intermediate, but we're going to take over more of the brunt of the work, the writing piece.
That makes sense. I mean, they have the inroads, they know who's who, they know what to ask for.
Exactly.
I understand that. Do you think you'll be back to ask for a continuing of this? Because this ends in 1 year, next year.
I think the thought is maybe, this was hired through an RFP process the first time, depending
Yeah.
on what happens with what the new county executive will want to do. I think
Right,
that's why
that's
we're
true.
kind of sitting and waiting.
Okay, good. Thank you, and good luck with all of that.
If I may, Councilwoman, and
Yeah.
both of you as former legislators,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything you don't know. I mean, I think it's important that we don't have a lag time in this, and I think when we discussed the Squires one, there was an expectation and hope that when the new county executive comes in, that he or she or whoever is not left without anybody on these.
Right.
That gives some lag time to figure out how to move forward in the next administration.
I agree. It's good.
Additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-216, Department of Human Resources, submitting an amendment to a contract with Imix Technology Incorporated for technical support and software maintenance of Chronos time clocks for the period February 1st, 2015 through March 29th, 2022, to extend the time period to September 29th, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $9,291.70.
Stephen Witt with Human Resources. This is an amendment with our existing maintenance vendor, Imix Technology, to maintain and provide support for our existing time clocks, the Chronos time clocks, which are still in use for time clock employees that have not yet rolled out under the new WFM with Infor. This agreement will buy us enough time for the complete rollout and additional time if needed. It is for 6 months, which was the least amount of time that Imix was willing to do this amendment for. If you look at the dollar amounts in the history, it's equivalent to what we've had in the past for rates.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Miller?
Are we required to do the whole 6 months, or can we exit the contract early if we have everything put together?
Unfortunately, the way Imix handles their contracts is it will be a one-time payment, so we are bound to the 6 months.
Okay, well, it gives us a cushion of time to work with,
It does.
because we're hoping to have this wrapped up in the first week of July on the implementation.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-217, Department of Information Technology, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to B&H Photo and Electronics Corporation in the amount not to exceed $15,230.56 for the purchase of multimedia photo camera bodies and related accessories, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Janelle Green, Department of IT. We did bid this item out a couple of times, and we did not get any responses back. So we did go to this vendor and get a quote for the equipment that are standard multimedia department items that they utilize every day.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. Did you go to just one firm, or did you contact multiple firms and get quotes?
After we did the posting for bids, which was multiple vendors, we looked here, and also my team did look at like Amazon and smaller vendors just to see what kind of pricing, or if we could get all the items together at one time. And unfortunately not, and this vendor had all the items that multimedia did need.
I should know this, but can you tell me, the primary goal is to procure camera photo bodies? What is a camera photo body? What do you?
Well, the camera, professional cameras are in multiple pieces. So the part that holds the lens.
Okay.
So that's the camera body. So the lens is separate, like a flash is separate. All of those are separate pieces, like way different from what we normally would operate with. I personally
Okay.
use my iPhone, but, you
So
know,
this
and
is
those
the
are,
actual camera.
yeah, these are different pieces. So there's the camera bodies and there's the lenses and there's cords for charging and data transfer.
And this is only for one?
No, there's multiple camera bodies here. I have the quote. And that's Jonathan Schick, our multimedia manager from Afar.
Going to your department?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's, again, used for what? What do you use, what do you take pictures of? Just of things in the county,
Come on up.
raise, just curious, so it.
Jonathan Schick from the
Different
multimedia team.
landmarks, things like that, or?
We film and photograph all kinds of things throughout the county, all
Yeah.
kinds of county programs,
Events?
you name it, all kinds of things within the studio for the executive council members. Pretty much every team in the organization we do work for. And so on this, there's two bodies. There's a Sony camera body and a Nikon body. Those are the bigger ticket items. The rest are just lenses and accessories like Janelle identified.
And none of those lenses or accessories you need right now?
They are. They're listed,
included in the
they're
quote.
included in the
Oh,
quote
they
as
are.
well. Yeah, they're listed as well. I was just saying the higher ticket items there are the bodies.
Good. All right, thanks for the explanation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If someone were to ask me, I wouldn't be able to answer that, so good to know.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next
Thank you.
item, BC 2022-218, County Prosecutor's Office submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Northern Flooring Specialists in the amount not to exceed $14,049 for a state contract purchase of carpet and related materials for installation at the Jane Edna Hunter Building, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
My name is Jim Ginley. I work in the fiscal department for the prosecutor's office. And this is something we want to put in the area that houses our CFS unit for the prosecutor's office in the Jane Edna Hunter building. It's a state contract purchase. It will be installed by county tradespeople, and that labor will be charged back to our office.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilman Miller?
I'm not an acronym specialist. What's a CFS unit?
It's our Children and Family Services unit.
Oh,
It's
okay.
our prosecutor employees that are over at Children and Family Services to do the legal representation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-219, Court of Common Pleas, Clerk of Courts, recommending an award on a purchase order to United States Postal Service in the amount not to exceed $450,000 for the purchase of refill postage for the period May 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2022, in accordance with Civil Rule Number 4 of the Ohio Rules of Civil Procedures.
Hi, Christopher Dean from the Clerk of Courts. Good morning. We're here to request a refill for our postage meter to fulfill our statutory obligations to send court summons and mail and general court notices.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Why did we decide to end on August 31st? I mean, is that the end of the cycle? Is that a billing cycle thing?
It's generally like,
Mike Smotek from the.
Yeah,
Come on,
Mike.
you gotta get up to the podium.
Thanks, Boyle.
You're welcome.
We try estimating it out based on the amount.
Are you gonna need to come back though?
Yeah, before the end of the year, we'll come back.
Is a backdrop. I used to work there and I was stunned by the amount of mail. I mean, it's 2022 and we're still mailing out everything sort of. I mean, at some point the courts have got to get their system kind of century. But until then, we will see you every 6 months asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars to meet your obligations.
Just a comment
Thank you.
that bringing it into the 21st century would probably require legislation in Columbus to authorize various things.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's where Kegler, Brown, and
Yeah.
Squire.
Yeah,
More of that.
right.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-220, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, on behalf of the Local Emergency Planning Committee, requesting authority to apply for grant funds to U.S. Department of Transportation, Pipeline, and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, in the amount not to exceed $52,500 for the fiscal year 2022 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness Grant Program, for the period October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and if approved, this grant will actually provide travel and training for members of the Local Emergency Planning Committee, as well as members of the regional hazmat teams. There is a local match, and it's being paid for by the LEPC.
Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-221, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, submitting a grant agreement with Ohio Department of Public Safety, Office of Criminal Justice Services, in the amount not to exceed $22,683.56 for management of the fiscal year 2021 Stop Violence Against Women Act Administrative Grant Program, for the period January 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn again, and this it's an administrative grant that actually reimburses our office for time that our staff spends administering the block grant that comes from VAWA. There is a local match, and it is part of our regular budget.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-222, Sheriff's Department, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Axon Enterprise Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $38,086.92 for the purchase of 200 signal fire sidearm kits and 40 Axon signal units to enable automatic activation of body cameras for unholstered firearms, and recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, this is Philip Lilly from the Sheriff's Department. We are requesting approval of a purchase order with Axon Enterprise to purchase 240 signal units. As stated, 200 units will be issued to the law enforcement officers, 40 units will be placed in the law enforcement vehicles. The signal units, what happens is when the officer draws their weapon, it'll automatically activate their body camera if it's not already turned on. The signal units in the vehicles, those will be set to, they'll be programmed for certain circumstances, like if they turn on their lights and sirens, it'll automatically turn on their body cameras. The reason we're asking for the RFP exemption is due to equipment compatibility. We currently have Axon body cameras, and we wanted to make sure that these signal units function properly with them.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Just curious, so this is different than what we have now? This technology is not what we have now?
Correct, this is different technology. Currently what we have now are the tasers. When they're actually activated, it turns on the body camera,
Okay.
but we don't have anything for firearms.
Okay, good.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2022-223, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, submitting an amendment to a contract with Values in Action Foundation for workforce training services for youth for the period March 7th, 2018 through December 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, to expand the scope of services, to add 2 training locations, effective upon contract signature of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000.
Good morning, Kathleen Johnson from the Department of Contract and Purchasing and for Family and Children First Council. This is for a contract with Values in Action and Project Love for the workforce training services for youth. This is an RFP exemption for 2 years from 2022 to December 31st, 2023. We are going to be adding John F. Kennedy High School and Cleveland Heights High School for their training services. It is for $50,000. The reason why it was late, there was a discrepancy in our budget if we were going to be able to actually add this program for the $50,000. And there was a lot of back and forth between our office and their office with obtaining all the documents to complete the RFP, or rather the contract amendment.
Questions on this item?
Yes, who is it that receives the services?
They're high school students in the 4 districts.
And is it all the students of a particular school, or is it just some that are selected? And if so, how are they selected?
It's any youth who wants to participate in the program.
It's what?
It's any youth who wants to participate in the
Okay,
program. Yes, sir. Sorry about
anyone
that.
interested? Okay.
Are additional,
So just understanding, this contract actually ended at the end of last year. If it wasn't for us expanding the scope of services to add 2 training locations, would we have not continued this?
There was, we weren't sure that we had the funding to provide the services. So once we found out that we did have the funding, we had planned to extend the contract, to answer your question, but we weren't sure we had the funding to do so. So once we did find the funding, that's why we extended the contract, if that answers your question.
Is the $50,000 for the 2 training locations that we're adding?
Yes, it's to add the 2 trainings for the 2 years.
And how about the other training that was within this contract that ended at the end of last year? Is there funding left over?
It must be funding left over, yes.
any additional questions?
I guess I would like to know how much carryover there is, that this is supposed to end last year. Is there enough for this to last 2 more years worth of training and adding 2 more training locations? This is, I think, a good workforce initiative. Just curious how $50,000 adding more and with the contract that ended is enough. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Or?
Yes, I can find out. I know they do get other funding sources from the county and from other entities,
Okay,
but I will find out the additional amounts.
I'd appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks. But it is a good, I mean, I'm not against it. It's good. In fact,
It's,
if anything,
it's
I wanna make
really
sure
an
that-
excellent program.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
One more question.
uh-huh.
Can you tell me what the basic approach is to the training?
So they provide workforce training services. They do soft internship skills, soft training skills. Their curriculum is a 16-week program that they provide for the youth. They do field trips with employer work sites. They do interviews for their internship and their jobs. Like I said, they're in John F. Kennedy, Cleveland Heights, University Heights, John Adams High School. I don't know the particular name of their curriculum, but if I can get you that information as soon as I get back to the office. If that's all the information I had brought with me, but I can give you
Okay.
more detail of their curriculum as soon as I get
Okay,
back.
well, that's a good start.
Okay.
And I'll take any additional information that's easily accessible.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Moving on to exemptions.
Next item, BC 2022-224, Department of Public Works, requesting to amend board approval number BC 2021-508, dated September 13th, 2021, which amended an alternative procurement process resulting in awards to various factory authorized dealers for vehicle and equipment repairs, parts, and services for the period March 24th, 2016 through March 31st, 2022, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2022, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $365,000.
Melanie Say, Department of Public Works. If approved, this will result in awards to various factory-authorized vendors for parts, equipment, services, and repairs that's in compliance with our vehicle warranties and manufacturing safety standards.
Are there any questions on this item?
I'll shoot you an email, because I just have a question about process, and this, the vehicle or factory authorized dealer services, is that separate from, I guess, state bidding? I mean,
Yes.
okay, but,
Yes.
and that's what I don't want to bore the folks. I'll shoot you, or you can shoot me an email,
Okay.
just so that I know what it is, unless
Okay.
you guys want to hear it now, but more just the nerd.
Okay, that's fine.
Additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-225, Department of Public Works, requesting to amend board approval number BC 2021-680, dated November 22nd, 2021, which amended an alternative procurement process resulting in awards to various providers for medical, surgical, and animal care services for the period February 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2022, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $185,000.
Melanie Say again from Department of Public Works. If approved, this actual procurement will provide anesthesia, medication, routine testing, and surgeries on an as-needed or emergency basis for the county kennel.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2022-226, Department of Public Works, recommending an alternative procurement process, which will result in award recommendations to various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $3,273,803 for the 2022 Preventive Maintenance Program for the period March 21st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, for the municipalities listed as items A through U on the printed agenda.
Nicole English from Public Works. So this is our annual preventative maintenance program where we provide the cities funding for material costs to do preventative maintenance. So crack seal, pothole filling, catch basins, anything that would prolong the life of the roads, the county roads. So we did answer some questions ahead of time. There's a process that we go through. Applications were sent in October. They were due late October, November. We scored them all and then made recommendations. In February is what we sent letters out. Well, they went out in March, I guess, to the city. So this is our way of not, because we're doing an alternative procurement, because otherwise we would have to put the $3.2 million and kind of hold it the whole time. And we actually know from the years that have gone by ahead of time that the cities often don't ask for these maxes. So that's why the program is $2.5 million a year. This is rollover funds, which is how we're able to award up to 3.2. A lot of the cities tell us what they think they're going to do, and at the end, they don't really spend that much. And so this is making it so that every time a city submits for the reimbursement, then we go and get the PO in order and pay them. So we're not holding up all this money ahead of time. So that's why the alternative procurement, this was figured out, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years ago with purchasing is kind of how to do it with the new system, because it was a manual encumbrance prior to that. So sorry, that's a lot of complicated purchasing stuff, but that's our way to be able to pay them as the bills come in.
I just ask, so say for a city like Berea, 98,000, they would ask for what they've already used, or is it a reimbursement?
It's a reimbursement. So we told them this year they have 98,000. Whatever they do, typically over the summer, they'll be working on it. And then we have the reimbursements due by about March of the next year. So they have until then to ask for the money. But like I said, most of them come in under. I mean, because they're estimating the year before. It's what they think they're going to get out and do on the county roads, depending on their workforce and what they can get done. And some of them ask for the full amount, but in general, we do have a decent amount of carryover year
But
to
it's
year.
by receipt of materials.
Correct. So they have to provide us with the invoices, the canceled checks, and then just a statement saying what they spent all the money on. And then we will reimburse them one time for the full amount, or up to what they ask for.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
so they only ask once?
Correct.
Oh.
So they essentially do it all, and then normally the service directors in the winter then work on getting the documentation to us and submitting.
So they submit bills for 100,000 and they only are allowed up to 98. You just cut the check for 98.
Correct. Yeah, if there's that many eligible items. And we do kind of let them, like if one road goes over, but one came in under, we will let them, you know, that's acceptable as long as, again, it's under the maximum. So, you know, they're estimating, you know, ahead of time isn't always
Right.
exact, but we try to give them some flexibility to make sure they're using the money that's allotted to them.
Okay. Some of these are like $72,197.
I know
Yeah.
some people are very, very exact at their estimating, and then others are more rounded. So it just depends on who put in the application. And then the only thing is the most that a city can get is 200,000. That's kind of the rule that we
Okay.
have in the guideline. Nobody can get up to that. I see Strongsville. I think they might be the only one that got up to that limit this year. They do have a lot of county roads.
So even though you set aside 200,000 for Strongsville, if they only come in at 100, what does that extra 100 go into?
To the next year's program.
Okay. What would prevent cities from just taking the max, but only just to guarantee they have the money? And then-
They could. I mean, it's hard. They do have to give us an application of what they're going to do on each
Okay,
road. So
they do.
again, if they kind of came through and said they're going to,
Okay.
you know, crack seal a half a mile and it's going to cost 200,
there's
we
an
kind of know,
explanation.
yeah, that's not realistic. We've been working with them. I mean, council. This was council's program that they came up with. Gosh, I want to say even maybe Greenspan was the one who started thinking through this maintenance program.
Yeah.
So the cities and us have gotten a pretty good understanding of what we can use it for, and
Is this any road or has to be a county?
County roads.
Only county roads? So
Correct.
if they have a city road, or state road, that
No.
doesn't count?
Yep, just county roads.
Good, thank you.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Dale, I'm sorry.
am I correct that there's no master contract for this that comes to council, that you deal with each municipality one at a time on purchase orders?
Correct. So that's what, when we switched to Infor, there was this whole discussion as to how best we can handle this without necessarily taking the money up and holding it for, you know, if you did a master contract, we'd have to hold that budget for the whole time, knowing we don't spend it all. And then each of these cities, if we were to move money from one to the other, decrease, we'd have to go get them to re-sign the master. It just seemed really complicated. So we worked with Lenora at the time, and this seemed to be the best way to go through, is do this alternative procurement, and then as they ask for the reimbursement, we issue a PO to each, for each of these cities for the actual cost that they're gonna get reimbursed.
So, if in the middle of the year, some community says, oh, we forgot about such and such a street that really can benefit from this, and we need an extra 10,000, can they ask for an amendment? Do we ever do that?
We have not done that. Sometimes if it's a road that we've done, we do our own preventative maintenance contract, you know, on the projects that we have done. So if it's a project that they kind of want to get some crack sealing done related to something we did and want to be included in our contract, we might talk to them about that idea. But typically we do not, after the fact, we kind of make these awards because we have a limited pot of money that we've awarded. And then we'll say, well, if you can wait till next year, put it in, that you're likely to get it next year. Yeah, we haven't really amended them as the year goes by. We do let them switch though, from road to, you know, like if again, one's higher and one's less, we will let them move that money around.
Okay, so they gotta get it right the first time.
Kind of,
Okay,
yes.
fine.
That's our hope.
Okay.
Just briefly, so I counted, and I may be wrong here, but I counted 47 in there. That leaves 12, I think. Are there communities that aren't in here? I mean, that aren't participating, I guess, more.
Yeah, few.
Maybe that they don't have any this week, or this year, I mean?
Yes. Well, there is a couple that asked for high dollar projects. So there was, I want to say, Rexville. There's one other that we actually called the city engineers to talk through it, that this program wasn't, it was more of a 50-50 project.
Okay.
So we talked through that with them and said that those projects, requests would be coming out shortly, which are actually, they're due this week maybe, or last week. So
I think
recent.
Yeah.
So we have kind of talked to them and said, well, this isn't the right program for what you submitted. Try the 50-50. It's a bigger dollar. This is, you know, more annual maintenance. And then there's some that just don't have all that many county roads, or maybe did all of their county roads in the last couple of years and they just don't have anything left to do. June in our office, who runs this program, she actually calls every city who doesn't submit an application and then says, I just want to be sure that you aren't interested this year, and they reply. So she's done a really nice job once she's taken it over to be proactive, and that's how we've gotten up to this high number of participating cities. And then there's just a couple that say they don't have a need.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's one of the things that I think Public Works does a really good job of collaborating. I look at like the sewer projects and those things, collaborating with our municipalities. And when I saw that there were potentially 12 not in here, knowing that you guys contact them in a proactive manner, it really adds to my comments that I do think that the Public Works does an exemplary job of reaching out to the municipalities to help with funding on I don't want to speak for council members, but I know that quality of roads is something that that a lot of people complain about. And so I'm glad to hear that we're working collaboratively on that. So thank you.
Thanks. And two are at the townships, and we are responsible for the maintenance in the townships. So those, they don't submit because we do that on our own.
So that's true. Okay, good point.
So two more can come off the list.
Chagrin Falls Village, do they even have any county roads?
Falls Road? The brick one that we did not too long ago. Yeah. So just a few.
Let me ask, just in looking over this list, there are 2 villages that have high numbers. Is that, we have the village of North Randall for 199,600, and then the village of Cuyahoga Heights, 175. Those are some of the higher ones. Are the villages more in need than most cities?
I don't know if there's any correlation to them being a village. I will say there's a couple city engineers that are consulting engineers. There's a company that represents several of these towns, and they've gotten it down, and they're pretty good at, identifying how to get the funds. So I would say that's part of it. But we do look at, it is weird too, the county roads, like some of the cities that you think even maybe are bigger, but don't even have as many county roads. But then there are some small ones that most of their main roads are county roads. So it just depends on mileage. And like Jim said, whether they did it in the past so many years or this is the year they're going to do all of their county roads.
That's true. Right.
That question's going to come.
Right.
Might as well be ready for it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said in the questions, I want to say 90 to 95% of the project, because they submit by road and we score it by road, and then it kind of groups up by city, get funded. It is the line, 2,000 lines of roads, and I would say about 20 don't get funded. It's quite a bit. So this program really awards almost everything that gets put in.
Okay, good. Thanks. Good program.
Additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2022-227, Office of the Medical Examiner, requesting an alternative procurement process which will result in an award recommendation to Italian Cravings, doing business as Italian Creations, in the amount not to exceed $4,500 for the purchase of meals for participants of the Citizens Academy and Medical Legal Death Investigator Training for the period April 25th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. So with the easing of COVID, we are back to in-person trainings and our Citizens Academy. And this company provides food catering services. They're very flexible and proximate to the office. They can get us our early morning starts as well as the programs that run into the evening. The Citizens Academy is paid for by the general fund, but the majority of the cost of this is for our training programs, and that is reimbursed with the fees that are charged for the course.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agendas items.
We're on items BC 2022-228 through 229.
Take a moment to review. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Moving on, is there any other business?
No other business
Any public comment?
and no public comment.
That being said, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.